Hi there, Smart Drivers, talking to you tonight about winter driving, more winter driving. Despite the fact that it's the end of February, almost March, we still have a lot of snow and a lot of ice in some places. Stick around, we'll be right back with that information. Hi there, Smart Drivers. A few people here. Tim is here from Winnipeg. Abigail is here. Mallory is here, tuning in from the Maritimes here in Canada. Evan is here. Sandra, my friend Tim from Drive Smart BC. And if you want to know anything about traffic safety in the province of British Columbia, case law, why roads are built, why road markings are put on, those types of things, definitely check out Drive Smart BC and the information there. Really great information over at Tim's channel. Sean is tuning in from Minnesota, and Corey is here. Corey is the moderator here on the channel. He is Bricks for Wheels. Corey does an excellent job of keeping out the bad people, because once you get to a certain size, people start to spam you. And as well, he does an awesome job of getting up videos that I suggest that you have a look at for more details on questions I answer. So what do we do? Tonight we're answering all your questions. We're also going to talk about winter driving. I got a short presentation that lasts for about 10 to 12 minutes. And then after that we come back and spend the rest of the hour answering questions and helping you pass a driver's test, become a safer, smarter driver, or start a career as a truck or bus driver. And lots of people getting into trucking right now because there is a great deal of news about trucking shortage, and there are lots of jobs. If you were looking for work, truck driving is definitely one of those professions that it's fairly easy to get into. Not so much now with most of the mandatory entry-level training programs, but with 3 months of training, you can get into a job that's going to have a starting salary of about $50,000 a year. And then it's going to go up from there, where, you know, most drivers working regional work, working city work, are going to be making kind of $75,000 a year. If you're running over the road, you might even make six figures doing that kind of work, but it's not for everybody, because you are away from your family, away from home 4 days at a time, sometimes a week, or sometimes a couple of weeks. But I do see some good coming out of the trucking industry. I think that it's going to be forced to change in response to the shortage it's facing with truck drivers. So also, you know, we're talking about winter time, but it is spring, and spring is coming. And a lot of new drivers are going to be looking at getting their license, especially with the economy turning around. As we start moving out of COVID, I can hopefully and finally say that I'm optimistic that, in fact, COVID is over. And you can just leave me a comment here and let me know if you too think that maybe COVID is we can finally see the end here. Mallory says that they've had another snowstorm in the Maritimes there. We got a lot of snow here in the higher mountain passes and whatnot last night. So there is, as I said, there is a lot of snow still around. Micah, a good set of all-season tires make a huge difference. I had put on a set on my car this week due to a nail, and they made a huge difference, traction and stopping. And yes, Micah, you're absolutely right. Good tires are essential for winter driving. Unfortunately, too many people neglect the tires on their vehicle, and it compromises your safety in the wintertime. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And Ben says they have lots of snow in Minnesota, which is not surprising. I'm certain that they have lots of snow in Minnesota, lots of snow in Montana, Colorado, Idaho, the Dakotas. I'm sure all of those places have lots of snow. So without further ado, the presentation. Sandra, hello. And Smarter Driver Course Package. Pass your driver's test, first time guaranteed, over at the Smart Drive Test website. Be sure to check that out. As a bonus, we throw in both the winter and defensive driving smart courses, and you pick that up for about $37 US over at the Smart Drive Test website. Tim says it's raining here. You haven't had snow for a while. Of course, you live on Vancouver Island. It's like living in Seattle. They get more rain than they do snow, and I used to say when I lived on the island that they should have 52 words for rain as opposed to 52 words for snow, as the Inuit do. Pearson, there's another snowstorm coming around Montreal on Tuesday afternoon, and that's when I have my second attempt at my driving test. If the roads are bad, Pearson, they will postpone your driver's test. Sandra, there's temperatures in Minnesota in minus 20. Oh, that is chilly. That is chilly. Really bad snowstorm this last Thursday, so yes, there are some places that are still having snow. So without further ado, let's get over to the presentation, and then we'll come back and we'll answer questions for the remainder of the hour. So more winter. Hang on, old man, winter isn't done yet. And then the little picture of the little girl, her saying, "Don't like this at all." And of course we don't like it at all because we're all tired and ready to move on with spring. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a long-haul truck driver in the 1990s, hauling freight between Ontario, Canada, and the United States, mostly the lower 48. Became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997. When I was living in Australia, I redid the course there to become a driving instructor, and I'm a licensed driving instructor in the province of British Columbia here as well. 2006, I graduated from the University of Melbourne with my doctorate in legal history, which is the study of policing, courts, and prisons, and my expertise is in policing as it relates to prison. And we saw the other face of policing here in Canada last week, with the police being used as an instrument of the state as opposed to the police force that the community deserves. So those are the two theories of policing. If you want to know more about me, you can check out my autobiography over at the Smart Drive Test website. New video this week, 10 unexpected things that you could face on your driver's test. Yellow lights, turning on yellow lights, emergency vehicles. These are things that you only experience and encounter every now and again when you're driving. And take a look at this video. It's important for you to be successful and passing your driver's test. And yes, the thumbnail is not very good. I am working on that and going to get a better thumbnail for this video because I think it's important that you have a look at it if you're working towards your driver's test. First and foremost, for driving in the wintertime, make sure that your windshield washer fluid is topped up. Make sure that you use the winter washer fluid that's minus 40 degrees Celsius or 40 degrees Fahrenheit, because you don't want it to freeze in the plastic reservoir under the hood of your car, because it will break and crack it, and it's expensive to replace that reservoir. If you do get a lot of sand and salt and snow on your car while you're driving down the highway or other places, pull into a fuel station and use the squeegees and clean off the glass on your vehicle. Stay away from salt trucks and sand trucks, especially if you're here in the mountains in British Columbia, because some of the stones coming off the back of those trucks are the size of your fist and will go through your windshield. I think I exaggerate a little bit on the size of your fist, maybe not the size of your fist, but definitely the size of your thumb, and at speed they're going to chip the glass on your windshield, so stay away from those. Poor visibility at night. If you're driving in at nighttime, make sure you use low beam headlights. Make sure you keep your headlights clean so that you can see. Look for landmarks along the roadway, utility poles, traffic signs, houses along the roadway, and those types of things to be able to navigate safely. Fog, you're going to get fog at this time of year because the temperature is going to cool at night. You're going to get a lot of moisture in the air. Here in British Columbia at high elevations, you're actually going to be driving through clouds. Rain and a lot of slush on the roadways, and if there is a lot of snow and it's melting and it's wet and heavy, it will push you around on the roadway. So make sure that you deft touch on your steering wheel. Make sure you look in the direction that you want the vehicle to go so that the slush and snow on the roadway doesn't push you around. 5 places that you're going to find quote-unquote black ice in the wintertime. Bridges and overpasses are going to freeze first, so make sure that if you are on cruise control, get off cruise control, get off the throttle, steer in the direction that you want to go. Low-lying areas, high elevations, roads that lie in shadow, so roads that run next to a mountain, a building, bridges and overpasses, anything that's going to cast a shadow over the roadway is going to cause water to freeze there. And roads that are near bodies of water. The other key piece about ice forming on roadways is roads that are little traveled in the wintertime, because it's like running water in a river. Running water doesn't freeze very easily. It's like ice on roadways. If there's a lot of traffic, you're not going to get ice. If there's a very little bit of traffic, like overnight the road traffic stops, the next morning in the morning, that's when ice is going to form on the roadway. So keep all of that in mind. Going too fast, oversteering, over braking, and over accelerating. These are the actions that are going to cause you to lose control of your vehicle. And this is what happened to me a couple of falls ago. I was going to Victoria at night and went around a curve too fast. Just touched the brake enough to shift the equilibrium in the vehicle, and that's what caused me to lose control of the vehicle. So if you do feel the vehicle start to break loose, the back end starts to come around, the front won't steer, get off the throttle, get off the brake, steer in the direction that you want to go. And as well, get out of the tracks on the roadway, get off onto the shoulder, try and find some traction somewhere so that you can steer the vehicle. Oversteering, this is when you steer the vehicle and the back end starts to come around. Usually happens when you go around a corner and you apply the brakes. Acceleration is often the best option, but for many of us, that's really not going to be an option. So basically what you do, get off the throttle, get off the brake, and steer in the direction that you want the vehicle to go. And make sure that you're wearing your seatbelt, because if you're not in the driver's seat, it's probably not going to be very easy to steer the vehicle if you're sitting on the console or get thrown somewhere else down onto the floor or whatnot in the vehicle. So wearing your seatbelt is not just to protect you in the event of a crash. Wearing your seatbelt is also to keep you in the driver's seat in the event of an emergency. Understeering is when you steer the tires and the vehicle continues to go straight. You're traveling too fast in a corner, slippery conditions. Sometimes if it's a slight curve, you could do chop steering, which is you pull the steering wheel down to steer and then release it back to straight, down and back up and down and back up. And essentially what you do is when you straighten the steer tires out, they get traction again, and then you pull it down to steer. This is adopted from racing. It's a technique that they use in racing, and if you want to see more detail on this, have a look at any of the rally car racing and with the view from the driver inside the vehicle. Chop steering, here's more about that kind of chop steering. So pull and release the steering wheel to regain traction and look in the direction that you want to go. And Tim is saying here about seatbelts, that seatbelts keep you in place so airbags don't kill you, because yes, you do not want your face against the steering wheel or against the dash when the airbag deploys. We can talk a little bit more about that in the discussion. Okay, steering control, drive for the conditions of the roadway. That means the speed, and that means the steering, chop steering. Get off the throttle, get off the brake, because these are the two primary controls that are going to get you into trouble on slippery conditions. Get out of the ruts in the snow if you lose traction or it's slippery conditions and you're in those ruts on the roadway where all the other vehicles travel. If you get off to the shoulder of the road a little bit, oftentimes that will get you a bit of traction and be able to help you to regain control of your vehicle. Okay, skid recovery. If you do lose control of your vehicle, most of the time it's going to oversteer as opposed to understeer. Steer in the direction you wish to go. Don't give up. Work the steering wheel like a crazy person. Wear your seatbelt to keep you in the seat. And if a crash is imminent, okay, don't know where that slide went, but if a crash is imminent, aim for something soft. A hedge, a fence, something that's going to move. Trust me, trees and rocks will not move, so don't aim for those. Don't aim for other traffic. Try to reduce your speed as much as possible if you do have a crash. All right, so in conclusion, black ice forms in the 5 places: bridges and overpasses, any place the roadway lies in shadow, along bodies of water, high and low elevations. This is where black ice is going to form, usually overnight when there's a lot of humidity and the road is not, there isn't a lot of traffic on the roadway to prevent ice and whatnot. All right, so steering, look in the direction that you want the vehicle to go, get off the brake, get off the throttle, and keep your washer fluid topped up in the winter time. All right, so getting back over here. What's a good car for single guy who is 5'7"? Ben, just about any vehicle will do well for you. If you're looking for a Honda Civic, they're generally pretty good. Toyota Corollas are good vehicles. Small SUVs, RAV4s, CRVs, the Nissans, all of these are good vehicles. It's really up to your personal preference, and my suggestion would be is if you're looking for a new vehicle, go out to the dealerships and test drive some of the vehicles and figure out what you like. Aloha, Blessed, my friend. How are you? How are you? Blessed has a Honda Fit, and she really likes her Honda Fit. They're on the island of Hawaii. So talk to Blessed, see how she likes her Honda Fit. That might be an option for you. You know, I have a very old Honda CRV, as most of you know, and like my Honda CRV, I drove an Audi Q3 last week. It's their Audi's small version of the SUV, and personally, for the cost of them, you know, I look at my old Honda CRV and I think to myself, I'm really not getting a whole lot more. I'm really not getting a whole lot more for $40,000. Just stick with my CRV. I do know the car that I do want for my next vehicle, but it's going to be a car. So Ben says he's not a car guy, so then definitely you want to be looking at the SUVs. You want to be looking at pickup trucks. You know, like I said, just go to the dealership and test drive these vehicles and figure out what you like and what you don't like. TN, we had bad weather recently, and I know I was driving slow, but I still was sliding a bit, but thank God I held onto the wheel and steered carefully. Yes, and sometimes, as we always say with weather, if you're not comfortable driving in that weather, then my suggestion would be just to stay home, because there's no travel that is that important that you need to go out in conditions where you are not comfortable driving. Until your skill set increases and you become more comfortable driving in those bad weather conditions, then yes. But there's really going to work or those types of things, it's really not worth risking your safety and the safety of other people. So that's my word of wisdom on bad weather. Just stay home, okay? You can go to work the next day. Mallory, my mom and I do not like to travel when the roads are bad. And yes, I agree with your mom, Mallory, for sure. Sandra, I have a Nissan Cube 2009. It was my mom's car. Now it's mine. There's another option for you is the Nissan Cube. It's not a car. We're not sure what it is, but it's another possibility. Ben, how about a Toyota Tundra? Ben, if you want to know about a Tundra, ask Tim. He has a Tundra, I believe. He has a Tacoma. That's another possibility. Bluffer, how are you doing? Doing fine. My road test is this week. I'm obviously going to binge watch your videos for a few days, but what videos should I prioritize before the test? Bluffer, the 3 videos you should have a look at are the video that I just put up this week on 10 unexpected things on your driver's test, 10 automatic fails, and 10 reasons you will lose points on your driver's test and demerit out. Excuse me. So have a look at those 3 videos in preparation for your driver's test. And Corey's put up the playlist on final days for your pre-trip. I need to put those videos in there as well. And Blessed says she is a white Honda Fit 2018, and she absolutely loves it. And you know, if you want a peppy little car, I'm sure it gets fantastic fuel economy. That is something I would suggest you have a look at, is the Honda Fit. It's not a huge car. It's a little car for sure, but I'm sure it's peppy and it's a lot of fun to drive, especially if it's got a manual transmission in it. Sandra, I'm getting used to the interstate. I went to Bowling Green, Kentucky, so I can go to Virginia in the summer, and that is awesome. And if you're having some trepidation or some fear around driving on the highways or interstates, you know, go out with somebody you trust or take a lesson with a driving instructor, because driving on the interstate, driving on the highways is just awesome. There's just sometimes I just like to get out on the highway, just put it on cruise control, put something on the stereo, whether it's an audiobook or a podcast or you're just listening to the music. It's a great way to relax. It's a great way to think about life and sort out some of your issues and problems and things that are challenging you in your life. I don't know, I've spent my whole life teaching people how to drive, and been driving my whole life, driven trucks and motorcycles and buses and everything else, and it's awesome. Okay. Sandra says about their Nissan Cube, we call it the toaster. My Nissan Cube is blue. That's a great nickname for your Cube, is the toaster. Awesome. Ben, I stayed home from bowling last Tuesday night, and bowling was canceled due to the bad weather. And yes, that's what happens when you live in Minnesota and they get lots of weather, lots of snow, lots of ice. And yes, it's just safer to stay home. There is nothing that is that important that you need to go out in bad weather and drive. And this doesn't just go for the weather, it also goes with how you're feeling. Sometimes you should not be behind the wheel of a vehicle. If you're distressed about something, or you had a fight with your significant other, or your family, or you had a death in the family, or something like that, this is also a good reason for you not to drive. And there's plenty of alternatives for us to get around. I mean, most of us look at taxi cabs as being incredibly expensive, and it's like, oh, I'm not paying for that. But you think about it this way. You pay for a $30 or $50 cab ride, you're still alive, so is the driving public, everybody is safe. So in the big scheme of the world, 30 or 50 bucks really isn't that much. I mean, it cost me $70 just to put a tank of fuel in the CRV. So to take a cab ride because I had a drink, or because for example, you had a death in the family and you're completely distraught, you shouldn't be driving, okay? And taxi cabs are easy to get, and as well, or you could take the bus, and I mean, take the public transit is inexpensive. You need to think of it in terms of choices, and when it comes to transportation, too many of us don't think of alternatives, and we need to think about alternatives. Sandra, I'm going to be getting a Garmin GPS soon. Awesome. Sandra, I might suggest that you just have a look around and see what other kinds of GPSs you might be able to find. Just compare them out and see if you might be able to find just so you get the best quality one. Experts. Yes, the driving on the highway is the best to relieve my stress, especially when I'm driving in the country. I tend to agree with you for sure. Sandra, I have a friend that went with me on the interstate, went in the morning, less traffic, and yes, that's excellent, Sandra. And we recommend this for all new students who are getting used to driving on the highways or getting used to driving on the interstates. Go in the morning, go in the evening when there isn't as much traffic. That way you can get comfortable with it. You can get comfortable with managing your space, changing lanes at higher speeds, and those types of things. There's just lots of things that you can do to really help yourself out. Adobe, my road test is coming up next 2 weeks. Anything I have to watch for, please? Definitely have a look at the list. The videos that Corey put up there, the 10 automatic fails, demerits out, and 10 unexpected things on a driver's test. Also have a look at the final day's preparation playlist, and that'll all help you out for your driver's test here in the next couple of weeks. Ben, I still have Metro Mobility that I use to get to and from work, and bowling and my family things because of my disability that they offer in the Twin City. That's awesome. Samantha, thoughts on the driving test waiver? Sam, where are you where you're talking about the driving test waiver? Are you talking about the province of Ontario, or are you talking one of the states in the U.S.? Because I haven't heard about a waiver in any of the states. Abigail, I have my Honda HR-V. I'm 4'11". I'm glad we don't have snow in this part of Texas this year. How do you like your HR-V? The Honda HR-V is a new SUV that I think they've come out in the last 2-3 years with those, and I haven't had a chance to drive one of them yet, so I don't know what they're like. Empress, I never did drive when it snows, would love to, but after seeing some videos with these vehicles sliding, as you said, stay home, I'm that person. Empress, that's really great, but don't completely avoid driving on snow and ice, because you can learn skills and abilities that will let you drive on snow and ice quite easily, and you can do it. So, don't avoid it forever. And as I said, go with somebody that you trust. Go with a driving instructor. Get some lessons and build your skills up to be able to drive in the wintertime on snow and ice. Sam, the state of Wisconsin is giving an optional driving test waiver. Is that new, or is that left over from the beginning of the COVID? Because they were one of the states that did have that, but I never heard whether the state of Wisconsin had rescinded that or not. So, but it sounds like that's still in place for them. Sandra, I stay behind the truck rigs so they can see me in their mirrors. I'm not in their blind areas. Yeah, and you need to stay back a fair distance as well, Sandra, for big trucks to be able to see the driver in the mirror. Empress, you're going to try that next winter. That's awesome. Congratulations. And Tyler, had to replace my headlights and it was a pain. Oh, Tyler, what kind of vehicle do you have that you had to replace the headlights on your vehicle? Ben, I had a good friend teach me how to exit and merge on freeways when I was learning to drive. And yeah, that's definitely what you need to do, is you need to take a driving lesson and work with somebody that you trust, somebody who has experience that can help you out to build those skills that you need for driving and whatnot. Sam, you're planning a trip coast to coast across the United States of America. That is awesome. That'll be just an absolutely great trip. Are you going to go across the south, Sam, or are you going to go across the north or the middle of the country? This summer, my kids and I drove from British Columbia, Canada, to Ontario. It's 3,200 miles. That was a quick, long trip. But I'm glad I did it once with my kids, just so they got a sense of how big this country is, because especially the province of Ontario. The province of Ontario, I'm guessing somebody could probably Google this now or later if they're watching on the replay. I think the province of Ontario is probably about the same area as the state of Texas. It's just an enormous province. And it took us 2 days to drive across Ontario. 2 days that we're still in Ontario. Crazy. Sam, honestly not sure when, but it is still on the DMV website. Yep, and probably that's exactly what happened, Sam, is that 2 years the state of Wisconsin was the other state in conjunction with Georgia that were giving waivers for driving tests, and I suspect that they never rescinded that, so that's still in place for the state of Wisconsin. Ben, if anyone who lives in the Twin Cities in Minnesota that have a disability, you could be qualified. Okay, awesome. Good information to know about Twin Cities there and people with disabilities, about being able to use the public transit there. Gaming, I will say thanks for the channel and your knowledge. I was in the process of doing my license when I found your channel, and it was super helpful along with my super cool driving education, and I passed my driver's test. That is truly awesome. Congratulations, Gaming, on passing your driver's test. And where did you go to celebrate your success in passing your driver's test, my friend? Tube, 98% of your videos is played in our class. Reza, I think you said this before. You're in somewhere, where are you? In Vancouver somewhere. One of the suburbs of Vancouver. Tyler, Volkswagen had to take a plastic cover off the back of my headlights, then take off metal clips, also cut my fingers off. Hopefully that's a euphemism, Tyler, that you cut your fingers off. Hopefully you still have your fingers, because, yeah. 2 years ago, I did a video, it's still in the hopper, on how to change the headlights on the Honda. And basically there's a plastic piece on the back underneath the hood. You turn it like this, you pull it out, you pop the headlight out, you put a new one in, you put it back in, and you turn it. And literally takes 5 minutes to change the headlights on the Honda. And so I showed the video to a friend of mine. He said, oh, that's just a video on how to change headlights on a 1998 Honda CR-V. And I started looking up some of the other makes and models of vehicles. And one of them that I looked up was the Chevy Malibu. And literally, to change the headlight on a Chevy Malibu was 45 minutes of a qualified automotive technician, a mechanic, had to take most of the front end of the car apart to put a new headlight in. And I was like flabbergasted about how much work was involved in putting a headlight in a Chevy Malibu. And I remember this, it was just blew my mind. And I was like, oh, well, maybe that's why I drive a Honda, because it takes 5 minutes to change the headlight. You know, and it's the same thing with the taillights and the brake lights. It's like you just like take 3 screws out, twist it out, put a new bulb in, and then stick it back in, and it's like 3 screws, and it's like super duper easy. Not like some vehicles. Oh my God. So Tyler says he almost cut his fingers off. He didn't cut his fingers off, so that's really good. Tim, I suppose it would be good to mention that you don't use cruise control in winter conditions. Yes, and that is good for what Tim said there. Thank you for that. And Jeffrey, any tips on a UK driver's test? Jeffrey, if you are taking a test in the UK, my tips for you are to take driving lessons with driving instructors. Because, Jeffrey, you're driving a manual transmission. Is that not correct? You're driving a manual transmission and you're driving on streets that are just like crazy stupid. So take driving lessons with a driving instructor because the pass-fail rate is quite a bit higher there than it is here. Okay? Gustav, I'm in Ontario. I'm a new driver. What is the best advice you can give me for driving in winter time? Whereabouts in Ontario are you? And thank you for the super chat. That is absolutely awesome, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Where are you in Ontario? Let me know that information. Corey, good evening from Halifax. Thanks for sharing your knowledge, Rick. It comes in handy here in Nova Scotia where the weather changes every 10 minutes. Yes, and that's what happens when you live near bodies of water. The weather changes, especially when you live on the east and west coast for sure. Tim, Datsun 240Z was like the Malibu back in the day. The engineers obviously don't work on their vehicles. Tim, yeah, and I heard a story about a Chevy pickup truck that they had to change the radiator in it, and essentially you had to unbolt the motor blocks and slide the motor back to get the radiator out. You know, there's just some of these vehicles that are an engineering nightmare, that there was just something that they forgot that had to be fixed. And it was just, I saw that video on the Malibu, would change the headlight, and I was like, yeah, I would just take that back and trade it in. Dubisa, man, am I afraid of driving in the snow after driving for 4 years? Dubisa, you know, it's not something that's going to happen very often, and my suggestion to you is if you do get some snow and you're still got some trepidation and some fear around driving in the winter, go and take a lesson with a driving instructor. Get some tips and skills, or somebody that you trust that can go with you, and that'll help you out driving in the winter time, okay? Mallory, my parents are my drivers, but even though I sit in the passenger seat, I still think about the skills and techniques needed for driving. Gustavo, I'm here in Toronto. Okay, so winter driving in Toronto, slow down back from where you actually want to stop and then creep up. So for example, half a block from the intersection, start to slow down and then creep up to where you actually want to stop. Okay, keep up with the traffic flow because if there's snow and ice on the roadways, most of the time the traffic isn't going to be going faster than the conditions of the roadway. Make sure that you have good tires on your vehicle. Keep your washer fluid topped up. And as well, make sure you have good windshield wipers on your vehicle. And go back and watch the presentation. Corey will put up the link for you on the winter driving playlist, and all of that will give you information and more details about driving safely in the winter time. Epic, good evening from Lehigh Valley region of Pennsylvania. Regarding winter driving in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, failure to clear snow and ice off the car will result in a fine if death occurs. Death rarely occurs for not cleaning off your vehicles. And I know that there are those videos on YouTube where you see 4 feet of snow on the top of the trailer that comes off when it hits an overpass and those types of things. That's rare. That's very rare. I mean, most of the time when we have cars and we don't clear a bit of snow off the top of the roof, it just blows off and there isn't an issue with it, right? It rarely causes calamity out on the roadways because most of the time it just blows off. Now, saying that, at one and the same time, ensure that you're not near other traffic, right? Manage space in front of your vehicle. So when that stuff does come off the back of the cars, the snow is blowing off the top of the roof, you're not in that cloud dust of snow. And that's not just the wintertime. That's not just for other people not cleaning off their vehicles. This goes for flat decks, trailers, pickup trucks, tractor transport trailers with flat decks, anything. We have the dump just up the highway here, and the number of vehicles that go up to the dump and they don't have the load tarped. Any vehicle can have something fly off it. It's not just that somebody didn't clean the snow and ice off the top of their vehicle. It's the fact that they're going to the dump. They didn't tarp their load. They left a strap bar on the back of the flat deck. There was something left on the deck, something left on the trailer, something blows out of the back of the pickup truck. This stuff happens all the time. So maintain space in front of your vehicle, and that is going to keep you safe on the roadways when you're driving. Sandra, I never had to change my headlights in my Nissan Cube, but I would take it to a dealer to do that. And a lot of people would, Sandra. But for some of us, like myself and Tim and a few other people who are kind of handy, some of this stuff is super easy to do. Like changing the oil in the car is super easy to do, especially in my old Honda. Changing the headlights is super easy. Changing the bulbs in the brake lights, all of that stuff is super easy. And if you're kind of handy with it, you can do it yourself and save yourself a few bucks, right? Because an oil change is $75, for example. If I took it to one of the Jiffy Lubes or something like that, and for less than $30, for about $25, I can change the oil in my car myself, and it only takes me about 20 minutes. So there is some benefit to being kind of handy yourself and doing some of this stuff. Tim, probably the best advice I have for winter driving is to pick an appropriate speed, and that is exactly right. Drive to the conditions of the roadway. And to figure out whether the road surface is slippery, make sure that you check for traffic behind you. If there isn't anybody behind you, touch the brake, pump the brake a couple of times and figure out whether you've got traction or not. If you don't have traction, then you know that you need to slow down. You need to be safe in curves, corners, and turns, because that's where generally you're going to lose control of your vehicle. You want to slow down even more in the wintertime on slippery conditions. DC, is ABS supposed to prevent you from sliding in snow? No, DC, that is not what ABS is designed to do. ABS is designed to prevent the wheels from locking up during braking so that you still maintain steering. So if you put hard brake pressure on the foot pedal, you'll get pushback, grinding, weird kind of noises coming from the vehicle. And essentially what the ABS is doing is releasing and applying the brakes so that you can still steer the vehicle. That is what the purpose of ABS is. Dude, I watched when I passed my test 2 years ago. Thanks for your videos. You are most welcome, my friend, and congratulations. How has the driving been going in the last couple of years? Ben, should I report my bus driver today who went 15 miles an hour over the speed limit in a 35-mile-an-hour zone? I could tell he was going like 50 since I drive now. Ben, unless you have a radar gun, that would never, there's no evidence to substantiate that the bus driver was speeding. There's a good probability that he or she was, and you could call the bus company and say, hey, the bus driver was going too fast, and they would probably give the bus driver a warning and say, hey, one of the passengers complained, but it probably isn't worth your time. Tyler, my car is a 4-cylinder, but the Germans put the intake manifold in front of the spark plugs, plus my car has a distributor plug wires. Yeah, that's all pretty standard. So you're saying that the spark plugs, Tyler, are on the back side of the top of the engine, so the intake manifold, yeah, that's pretty standard for most 4-cylinder engines, especially in a Volkswagen, because it's going to be front-wheel drive, as the Honda is, and the engine's going to sit sideways across in the engine compartment, and that's going to be kind of fun for you. We can't do everything on our vehicles. There's a lot of things that you got to take it in and whatnot, but there is some stuff that you can do. Relly, off-topic question. I've been watching lots of your videos, even though I'm from Australia. Have you ever lectured in any universities? Relly, yes. And speaking of Australia, I lectured at the University of Melbourne. I lectured at Monash University. I was at both of those universities working there. And I drove in your great country. I lived in Melbourne for just about 5 years. So know all about it. Where are you in Australia, my friend? Epic. I have a question about tire chains on commercial vehicles. Are you supposed to take them out once you are past the mountainous terrain or keep them on all the way to your final destination? No, Epic. You just put them on at the bottom of the mountain or at the top of the mountain if you're going down. Put them on for just that hill. So you take them on, take them off, because tire chains have spikes on them and they do a lot of damage to the road surface. And the other interesting part about tire chains on big trucks is a lot of drivers leave driving school and they think, it's got to be 2 feet of snow before they put tire chains on, when the reality is it's just 2 inches of snow. It's when the road surface is slippery that you have to put chains on to go up and down. Oh, really? You're in New South Wales. Drove bus in New South Wales up to Canberra into Sydney for about a year there, and so I've been to New South Wales as well. And the outback of New South Wales, the one run we did in the coaches went to Parks, New South Wales, which was the halfway point between Melbourne and Brisbane. And we'd take the bus up to Parks. The Brisbane driver would take it back to Brisbane, and the next morning the Brisbane driver would come down and we'd take it the rest of the way to Melbourne. So, been to your great state. Tim says, I have friends in Glenroy. Where is Glenroy, Tim? It rings a bell. I know where that is. Ben, almost 2 years of being on my regular license now. That's awesome. Congratulations, Ben. Ben, I know you changed oil because I was around my dad who worked on cars when I was growing up. Yes, awesome. And, it is something that you can do. I mean, basically to change the oil on the vehicle. I mean, there is a video here I did on changing oil too. I think I've done a video on just about every aspect of driving. Just got to get into the big trucks now. But it's a filter, an oil plug, and then you just got to dispense of the old oil. And there's lots of places that you can take it to get it recycled. We have places here that we can do that. Kaz, driving is great. From when I started, I wouldn't have thought I can have the confidence that I do now when I drive. It's a great feeling because confidence behind the wheel really helps you drive. And Kaz, you are absolutely correct, my friend. Confidence helps a lot when you know what you need to do to merge onto highways, drive in the rain, be able to turn on the defrost, the windshield wipers, the headlights, driving at night, and those types of things. All of that's going to help. Oh, right. I don't know. Glenroy, I was thinking of Glenmore in Kelowna. And yes, Glenroy, it's a suburb of Melbourne. Absolutely. Great place. Haley, I'm taking my road test on March 15th in Edmonton. I'm so nervous. Any tips? Haley, scroll back through the comments there, and there's 3 videos to have a look at. Top 10 reasons for failing a driver's test, top 10 reasons you'll gain demerits, and then unexpected things on a driver's test as well. Corey's put up the playlist on last minute preparation for your driver's test, so have a look at all of that. Be Still, you are an amazing teacher. Keep up the good videos. Be Still, thank you so much for your kind words, my friend. And yes, we're going to keep going. Last week was like crazy busy here at Smart Drive Test because not only are we doing the videos, we're doing the shorts every day, so have a look at those. We're on TikTok, we're doing Instagram Reels, we've got the shorts here on YouTube, plus we're doing the full-length video every Wednesday, and Mallory's keeping me honest on that. I thank you, Mallory, for keeping me honest because 2 weeks ago I didn't get the video up. And one of my clients, I am working on a new defensive driving model, which we've renamed Scope 3. You've heard me talk about it before as Spock 3, but we had to rename it because we couldn't use the references to Star Trek. Surprise, surprise there, right? So they came back to me and said, oh, you got to come up with a new name. So to come up with a new name, new logo, rebranded all of that. And as I have mentioned in the last week or so, we've brought on an animator. So we're going to start doing some animation, and we have an assistant, Jesse, who is also a graphic designer. Jesse is doing an absolutely magic job on the social media posts and has just elevated the thumbnails. Just go over to TikTok and look at the thumbnails on TikTok. I mean, she's done just an incredible, fantastic job over there with the videos over there. And I mean, we started on TikTok with a few, scores of views, and then we went to hundreds of views, and now most of the videos on TikTok are getting thousands of views. And why take your driving test in the wintertime is actually, I think it's the most popular video on TikTok. I think it's up to like 130, 140,000 views. So doing really well. And last week we did some expert witness testimony for a law case. And I'll just talk about that for a second. One of the drivers, I did the video last week on moving over in heavy traffic congestion for emergency vehicles. And somebody, of course, you always get these people on TikTok and other social media platforms. I'm not going to move over. I don't have to move over. It's my right, kind of thing. My response, first of all, is like, well, what if emergency vehicles and emergency personnel are responding to your family? And that's my initial response. Now, the other thing about getting into a crash, this crash that I worked on last week, the crash happened in 2016. So if you get into a crash and you are thinking that you are going to get compensation for your injuries, or you're going to be compensated in some way, you're probably looking at the better part of a decade before you see any compensation. And that is if, in fact, you are successful in suing or claiming damages for being involved in a crash. And the other piece that we've kind of talked about here on the channel is we've talked about insurance, and I want to talk a little bit about no-fault insurance, because some states will have no-fault insurance and some will have fault insurance. No-fault insurance does not mean that there isn't fault assigned in the crash. What happens is that when you have at-fault insurance, there's a crash, and if your car is all bingled and smashed up, your car will sit in your driveway for months while the insurance companies are figuring out who was at fault. Unless you have collision. If you have collision insurance, which is very expensive for new drivers, then they'll fix your vehicle. But if they're figuring out who fault is, your vehicle will sit smashed up in your driveway for months and months and months until they figure out who's at fault and who's going to pay for fixing damages. No fault insurance simply means that insurance companies go ahead and fix your vehicles, and whatever convalescing assistance you need, then they figure out who's at fault, and that person gets charged. No fault insurance doesn't mean there's no fault. It just means they pay for damages, and then they come back later and they figure out who's at fault. Okay? Good night, my friend Ben. Have a great night, my friend. Joshua, I passed my road test in a bigger truck thanks to your parallel park video. You are most welcome, Joshua. I am so glad that we could help out with your big truck. Where did you pass your driver's test, and what kind of big old truck were you driving there? Sandra, I thank your videos. It helped me out for passing my driving test. My friend says I need to get better on merging over, but otherwise they did really well going to Bowling Green, and that is awesome. Congratulations, Sandra. Awesome. Naven, keep up the great work. Thanks, Naven. You are most welcome, my friend. Tyler, some of your new shorts uploaded twice. Tyler, which platform were you on where they uploaded twice? I'll have to have a look at that. Kaz, gonna go. You have a good one. You're a great teacher. Remember, confidence is key, everyone. Thank you so much, Kaz, and have a great night. Crystal, hi Rick, during my practice went well today. I also spoke at the school board meeting that was on Tuesday, something I typed up myself. I got to see my friends. Yesterday, tomorrow, I'm seeing a friend. Tim says the best thing you can do is avoid a crash. And that was exactly the point of all of that. That by the time you're going to get compensation, it's going to be months and months, maybe even years down the road. So yes, the best thing is absolutely to avoid a crash. Here on YouTube. Okay, well, we'll definitely have to have a look at that, Tyler, because, and actually, Tyler, I think that there's something going on goofy with the YouTube platform, because I spend a lot of time doing thumbnails for these shorts, and that, of course, the thumbnail doesn't show up on YouTube, but you just get my face in all kinds of positions, like, and I'm like, who's gonna watch that? So, it just randomly picks a frame from the video, and I'm just like, oh my god, nobody's gonna watch that. It's like no wonder why TikTok is doing so well. At least they're smart enough to pick the first frame, which is the thumbnail for the video. So, there you go. Anyway, so I'll have to have a look at that and make sure that I delete any ones that are duplicated here on YouTube for the YouTube Shorts. I need to ask for your help, for your information. Okay, Semi is one of the very first smart drivers here on the channel. He's from Russia. He has been driving truck in Europe for the last few years. He learned English. When he first got in touch with me, he barely spoke English, and now his English is quite good. He got in touch with me this morning. He's in Europe. His visa is only good for another 2 months, and then he has to go back to Russia. And he is afraid that as soon as he goes back to Russia, he's going to be conscripted. And he wants his goal, his long-term goal, his ambition has always been to come to Canada and work here as a truck driver. And somehow, I don't know how, I want to figure out whether we can help Semi to make his way to Canada, and so that he doesn't have to go back to Russia and be conscripted in the war there. So if anybody has any information about how we might be able to help out Semi, that would be absolutely awesome. Let me know. Send me an email, rick@smartdrivetest, and we'll see what we can do to help out. Gustavo, for me is so dangerous. The sun, I have problems when it is so bright. I cannot see even with sunglasses. What can I do? Okay, so you're driving into glaring sun. Put the visor down. If the sun is over here, put the visor over to the side, wearing good quality sunglasses, and make sure, Gustavo, that you are looking along the roadway for landmarks, utility poles, making sure that you're looking for road signs and those types of things along the roadway. Looking into the sun for movement, other cars, road users, traffic, pedestrians, those types of things. And thank you again for the super chat. That is awesome, my friend. Mallory, when I was in school, my teacher for the blind would take me to gas stations so I could learn how to put gas in the vehicle and clean the windows. That's awesome. Awesome. And yes, pass your driver's test first time course package over at the Smart Drive Test website. Guarantee that you pass your driver's test first time as well. We put in as a bonus both the winter and defensive driving smart courses. You can pick that up for about $38 US over at the Smart Drive Test website, so be sure to check that out. If you have any questions at all, leave us a comment down in the comment section there. We'll be able to get back to you. If you have any information about how we might be able to help out Semi, that would be valuable as well, and I would appreciate that. Winter driving, just to kind of sum up on the winter driving thing. Drive to the conditions of the road. Make sure that you have quality tires on your vehicle. It doesn't necessarily have to be winter tires, but good all-season tires on your vehicle. Good windshield wipers. Washer fluid topped up. Okay, make sure you have your sunglasses. As Gustavo just said, you get a lot of bright sun in the winter time as well. You'll get that reflection off the snow, so you need to wear good quality sunglasses in the winter time. And it's another myth for driving tests that you can't wear sunglasses on your driver's test. That's bunk. If you are very photosensitive, as I am in the winter time, or in the bright sun rather, then you need to wear sunglasses. Put your visor down. In the wintertime, also be able to turn on the defrost, windshield wipers, high-low beam headlights at minimum for the purposes of your driver's test, and all of that will help you out to be successful in the wintertime. If you do lose traction on snow and ice, get off the brake, get off the throttle, steer the vehicle in the direction you want to go, move the vehicle to the shoulder of the road, and you might be able to get some traction to be able to regain control of the vehicle. Tim, drives sight issues, consult your sight professional. Yes, see an optometrist. see somebody else, your medical doctor. They'll refer you to an optometrist. Absolutely what Tim just said. Sandra, there's a lot around here trying to get people to wreck. I'm just back of those people cut in front of you like your ghost not even there. I beat my horn. They act like, yeah. Okay, so yes, stay away from other people, manage space well around your vehicle, and don't get into a crash, because it's going to be a long time before you get compensation for that crash. And, you know, hopefully, fingers crossed, that if you are unfortunate enough to be in a crash, that you're not going to be injured. Okay? DC, how often do you have to change the oil? On older vehicles, DC, it's 3,000 miles or 5,000 kilometers. On newer vehicles, it's getting up to 8,000 kilometers or 5,000 miles with these newer vehicles, and especially if you're running synthetic oil. But again, it depends on the manufacturer, depends on the brand of your vehicle. So look in your owner's manual, consult your mechanic, technician, and they will be able to give you the correct information. So as I said, older vehicles, 3,000 miles, 5,000 kilometers. Newer vehicles are going to be 8,000 kilometers or 5,000 miles. And don't drive without insurance. Yes, please don't drive without insurance with your vehicle. If you can't afford insurance, please just don't drive. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there who don't have insurance, and this is another reason why you should work as hard as you can to be a smarter, safer driver so that you don't end up in a crash. Okay? Gamer, is there sunglasses that I can use because I have to wear my eyeglasses when I drive? Yes, Gamer, you have to wear your glasses. There are clip-on sunglasses that you can get for your prescription glasses. I mean, you may have to get new glasses, but there's also ones that go tinted as soon as you walk out into the sunlight. But there are also the magnetic ones that you can get that as soon as, you know, if you want to put on sunglasses, that will magnetize, and you just put them up against your prescription glasses and they will stick there. So there's definitely a lot of options for you in terms of sunglasses. And then, of course, you know, DC, if you wasn't DC, I'm sorry. Gamer. If you want to look really cool, you can be like the seniors and get those big honking welding glasses that go right over your prescription glasses, you know, and it looks like you're going to launch a space shuttle. You can get those too. Which are, you know, kind of fun. You can freak your friends out. DC, I have a 2005 Camry. Last time I had an oil change was 2 years ago. DC, you are probably, you know, due for an oil change. Sandra has sunglasses that go over her eyeglasses. Excellent. And as Tim just said, the other option that I failed to mention was that you can get prescription sunglasses as well. Joshua, you have a GMC Sierra in Houston, Texas. That's awesome. And there in Houston, Texas, a GMC Sierra, that's just a little truck. That's like a little baby truck. Little baby truck in Houston, Texas. I mean, in Houston, Texas, I mean, you got to drive yourself a big dually, big 350 Chevy. I mean, that's like a urban runaround truck in Houston. I jest. Garden State, how to deal with tailgaters in one-way roads. I follow the limit and people ride my bumper. I'd rather just let them just illegally pass me. Garden State, just increase the distance in front of your vehicle. That way you don't have to make aggressive braking actions, and you can drive your vehicle and the vehicle behind them. Tim says oil is cheap, engines are expensive, and that is very true. Yes, keep the oil changed in your vehicle. It's an inexpensive way to keep your vehicle going for a long distance. DC, yes, definitely overdue. Cameron, when I am driving and approach a yellow light, how do I know if I need to either proceed or stop safely? Cameron, I would suggest that you work with somebody. Take a lesson with a driving instructor, and they'll be able to help you out with that, because unless somebody's actually physically in the vehicle with you, it's really tough to tell you when to stop and when to go. But saying that, Corey will put up the videos for you on yellow lights, and that'll definitely help you out with that decision about whether you're going to stop or whether you're going to go for the purposes of yellow traffic lights. HG, any tips on how much gas you know you need? For your vehicle, well, you kind of have to get used to your vehicle. Usually I just keep the top half of mine full, and that way you don't have to worry about running out of fuel. But eventually, once you start driving the vehicle, you're going to figure out how many kilometers you get or how many miles you get per tank of fuel, and then you're going to know whether you need fuel or not. Minimum tread depth on commercial motor vehicles in Canada. I don't know the exact measurements off the top of my head. There is a video on tire inspection, CDL tire inspection. Corey will put that up for you, and that will tell you what you need to do. Most of the vehicles, unless they're retreads on a commercial vehicle, are going to have wear bars, and once it gets down to the wear bar, then you have to replace the tires. Now, off the top of my head, I would need to confirm this. I think it's 3 mils minimum tread depth on rear tires and trailer tires, and I think it's 5 millimeters on steer tires, but don't quote me on that for the purposes of tire depth. HG, better to have more than less, absolutely, especially if you're out on the highways and whatnot. All right, so we're going to leave it there for tonight. Thank you so much for showing up and participating in the live stream. Absolutely awesome. You passed your driver's test in the last couple of weeks. Good luck. Congratulations on passing your driver's test in the last couple of weeks. And if you have a test coming up in the next couple of weeks, good luck on that. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.